Hi everybody and welcome back to my kitchen. You know, the purpose of my YouTube channel and all of these dishes that I am making here is really to take you on a trip to Mexico to meet people and to see new places and to taste new things. But occasionally I just want to come back and show you something that is super easy to make, almost like a pantry style of lunch that you could make for yourself, because I'm not a fan of processed food and I'm not a fan of getting delivered food all the time. And I just want to show you some things that are very easy to approach. So what we're doing today is a tostada, something that is very simple, and it's going to be based on something you probably have in your pantry, which is canned tuna. So we're going to make a tuna tostada, but it's going to be done in the Veracruz style. You go to Veracruz and there is this stuff that pops up everywhere called minilla, and it's what they do with fish that has perhaps been poached or cooked and left over, and they make this really delicious mixture that has tomatoes and capers and olives and herbs in it, and it goes together in absolutely a flash. So we're going to make tostadas of minilla today. I've got a pan on some heat here, and because I'm using skipjack tuna that is actually packed in oil, this is packed in olive oil, I can tip off some of the oil there and use that. There's a little bit of juice, a little bit of juice there from the tuna itself, but at least we're using up everything that is in here. Okay, let's talk tuna. There's basically three things that you need to consider when you're buying canned tuna. One is the variety of tuna. The second is the way it's packed, and the third has to do with sustainability. So first, let's talk about variety of tuna. If you buy albacore tuna, it's going to be a mild flavor but a firmer texture. If you buy skipjack like this, it's going to be a bolder flavor but a softer texture. Now you can buy tuna that's packed in water or packed in oil. Thankfully these days you can get it packed in really good olive oil, which is always my choice. Water's going to give you a lighter flavor and definitely a lighter texture, but the oil tends to make a dish that is richer in its texture because you're just adding a little bit more fat to the dish itself. Now, when it comes to sustainability issues, you could either go online and really research all kinds of methods of capture and health of different populations and all of that, or you can just look to see if this can has an MSC certification or even a fair trade certification on it. MSC is the Marine Stewardship Council, and they are really monitoring everything in terms of the sustainability of that particular product. So that's usually what I look for first and foremost. If I can't find that, then I have to go and do my own research about that particular product and where it comes from. So look for the MSC certification label. Now back to the recipe. So this mixture is going to cook down so that it's nothing but oil, because all that juice from the tuna will come out of it there. I don't have quite enough oil in the pan, so I'm going to put a little bit of vegetable oil. Maybe you would want to put some olive oil, which they absolutely love in Veracruz. Okay, I think it's going to calm down now when I put all of this onion that I've chopped up in there. And we're going to let this cook for 5 to 7 minutes, something like that, until it just begins to brown. This is one of the things that I love so much about cooking at home, is that you fill the kitchen with so much beautiful aroma. And there is, in some ways, nothing better than the onions cooking in olive oil or butter or whatever medium that you're choosing to use there. Now, while that is going, I have a little bit of garlic to chop up. If you're one of those people that likes to use a garlic press, this would be a good place to do it. And sometimes I just pick up one of those graters that is like this kind of grater, a microplane grater, and just grate the garlic. It'll give you a pretty strong garlic flavor when you do that, or put it through a garlic press. But I'm just going to kind of chop this up into smallish pieces, not absolute fine mince here. We don't need to do that part of it. And I think that looks like it's about ready to go in once we get the onions in a good place there. Okay, so we're going to make the tomato part of it now. So I'm taking a can of diced tomatoes. That's usually what I do. And I'm going to just tip off the liquid here and then put the rest of it into the blender jar. You could use a food processor easily for this. Set that guy aside. For the chili in this, I am using a serrano, but don't obsess over that. It could be a jalapeno, a small jalapeno would work. And if you like really spicy food, then you're probably going to want to put a couple of these serranos in there, so they go there. And then one of the herbs that is very common in Veracruz is the Mexican oregano. It's usually, if you buy it at the Mexican grocery store, in the whole leaf form, and it will have a few of the little stems in it as well. So usually you crush it between your palms, just like this, and let it fall out. And it releases all of the aromas. So when you smell that, you know it's not Mediterranean oregano. This is in a completely different family. This is in the verbena family, but it's got the pungency of oregano. And it really does flavor Mexican food in a unique way. I'm going to make a puree out of this, which won't take much time at all. Okay, now we've got some nice browning going on with the onions here. So I'm going to scoop up the garlic, add that to the pan here, and then just give it a nice stir. We'll let the garlic release its aroma. That'll just take about a minute or so. And once that has released its aroma, then we're going to add our tomato mixture to it. Smells just great. And we'll pour our tomato mixture in here. Now, I'm going to stir this around and mix in the onions and garlic and the fat that's in the pan. And we're going to let this cook down until it's considerably thicker. That really won't take more than 3 or 4 minutes. Now, while this is cooking down, I need to chop up some olives. Usually in Mexico, it's going to be a green olive, usually the manzanilla type of olive. And the amount of this, well, first of all, it's totally optional. You can leave it out if you want to, or if you don't happen to have any olives on hand. I usually have olives on hand because I love them. But you want to chop them so that they become smaller pieces to mix beautifully through everything else. So I'm just cutting them crosswise, and then I'll do a little rock and chop on them to make them smaller. Okay, we've got nicely chopped green olives here. The same holes with capers. If you don't have any capers on hand, that's totally fine. You can just leave them out. But they do actually, I can't get that in there, but I want about a tablespoon or so of these guys, so I'm just going to pull them out of their brine that they come packed in there. Again, this is up to your own discretion, whether you use them or how much of them you use. If you're a fan of that salty, briny, caper-like flavor, then you will want to put a little bit more in it. Okay, so now we've got this really, really nice looking cooked down mixture of tomato. You can see that I can just stir through it and see the bottom of the skillet. That's what I'm looking for there. And I'm going to put the tuna in here now. So just dump it straight out of the can into the skillet, and then start breaking it up. in here. It'll break up very, very easily, as you can see here. Once I get it fully mixed in, we'll let it cook for a minute or two more. Of course, I'm going to add the capers and the olives to it at this point so that they can flavor it. Okay, now let's scoop up the capers and olives. This is my favorite part of this dish here, and mix them in. And we're going to let this, I'm going to turn it way down and just let this simmer for a few minutes just to make sure that all the flavors have all come together and that we have cooked it into a nice consistency to pile on a crispy tortilla onto a tostada. I think right now would be a good time to see if it needs any salt. Just a little hint of salt over the whole thing. I think we'll make it just right. And we'll let this cook for just a minute more. This looks just perfect to me. We've got some store-bought tostadas. We're really lucky in Chicago that we have a lot of good options. They don't have to come from multinational corporations, but from local tortillerias like El Milagro here. And then I'm just going to, this can be served cold, room temperature, or warm. And I'm going to just pile on some of this warm minilla de atún, as they would call it in Veracruz. So pile that on like that. Then I have some ripe avocado that I'm going to put on the top of it like that. Again, feel free to use any kind of toppings that suits your taste. I've got some cilantro here, and I'm just going to take a few of the leaves and kind of tear them up and let them fall down. But in Veracruz, they love parsley as well. So if you have parsley available, that would be a perfect thing to put on this. And now it's time for lunch. A simple lunch. Something that's really delicious, though you could put this topping out for a tostada party and people would absolutely love it. But to me, this sort of homey flavor of this classic minilla de atún or tuna minilla is just absolutely spectacular.